The next one we want to look at is a false witness who speaks lies. I've always found it interesting that two of the sins that God hates has to do with lying. In this instance, it's referring to someone who gives a false report against another. This is another one of those sins that our society has no problem with. In fact, Hollywood uses this sin all the time in court dramas. Sometimes they try to use false witnesses to get the guilty person off. They will get a false witness to testify that the guilty person was with them at the time and could not have committed the crime. Others have been known to be false witnesses for friends to try to help them win money or to put one of their enemies in jail. How many times have kids shared in a lie about what really happened to that broken object? They will either say some elaborate accident happened, or they'll say that, well, whenever we walked in the room, it was that way. Oh, but then if you have cats or dogs in the house, can you imagine how many cats and dogs have been blamed for broken objects whenever they didn't have anything to do with it? But one thing we know is that when you have these two friends or brothers and sisters or whatever, one will come up with this really lame story and the other one will back it up. They'll be this false witness. But Christians should do their best to never be a false witness for anyone. Proverbs 19 verse 5, a false witness will not go unpunished, and he who speaks lies will not escape. Our first biblical example of a false witness comes from Jesus' illegal trial at night by the Jews. Mark 14 verse 55, now the chief priest and all the council sought testimony against Jesus to put him to death, but found none. For many bore false witness against him, but their testimonies did not agree. Then some rose up and bore false witnesses against him, saying, we heard him say, I will destroy this temple made with hands, and within 3 days I will build another made without hands. But not even then did their testimony agree. Jesus hadn't done anything wrong, and so they had to bring forth these false witnesses, and they began to make this stuff up. But as you can see, their lies didn't match up, which showed them to be false witnesses, which is a direct violation of the Ten Commandments. But no one seemed to care because all they were focused on was trying to take Jesus down. Stephen, the first martyred Christian, also had this problem as well. Acts 6, verse 11. Then they secretly induced men to say, we have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and God. And they stirred up the people, the elders, and the scribes, and they came upon him, seized him, and brought him to the council. They also set up false witnesses who said, this man does not cease to speak blasphemous words against this holy place and the law. For we have heard him say that this Jesus of Nazareth will destroy this place and change the customs which Moses delivered to us. Again, we see Stephen was innocent. Yet these false witnesses came forward and lied so that he would be put to death. This also happened to Paul several times as the Jews followed him around, stirring up trouble by spreading lies about what Paul was teaching. Any way you look at it, being a false witness is wrong, and God hates that sin, and we should hate it as well.